How can you personalize your messaging to physicians for greater prescription intent? What are people saying about your brand? How can you make your marketing efforts more precise and effective? These and many more questions are answered on this podcast, which is here to serve as a playbook for all your pharma marketing needs. As your host, Saumya Prakash, co-founder of Multiplier AI Solutions, sits across pharma industry's top experts. This is your place to get all the insights about Gen AI, data, and beyond.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Pharma Marketing Playbook Data, Gen AI, and Beyond. Your go to podcast for mastering pharmaceutical marketing, data analytics, and AI trends. Join industry leaders as we explore cutting edge trends, data driven strategies, and the impact of AI. Tune in for actionable insights and stay ahead in the dynamic world of pharma marketing. I'm Saumya Prakash, co founder at Multiplier AI, and today we have a very special guest joining us, Mr. Amaninder Singh Dhillon. Mr. Amaninder Singh Dhillon is a distinguished leader in the pharmaceutical industry. He provides strategic consulting services to global pharmaceutical and life sciences companies. His extensive expertise in oncology, coupled with his strategic and operational acumen, has enabled him to drive significant growth and innovation across various roles, including leadership positions at AstraZeneca, Mitra Biotech, Dr. Reddy's Labs, GlaxoSmithKline, and Pfizer. Mr. Ramanandar is also a certified independent director and currently works as a freelance consultant at Olive Ridley Advisory. In today's episode, Sir will share his expert views on how AI driven solutions can enhance personalized engagement strategies for healthcare professionals and the benefits of tailored communication in doctor engagement. We will also touch upon the evolving relationship between pharma companies and healthcare providers and the role of data analytics in optimizing these strategies. So, welcome, sir, to the show. So glad to have you over with us today.
Thank you so much, Soumya, and pleasure to be here with you.
Looks like a very interesting and exciting conversation coming up our way, with your such a vast experience and knowledge, practical knowledge of handling and working with so many corporations. So to start with, definitely you have such an impressive career in the pharma industry where you started as a trainee scientific representative at Serdia Pharmaceuticals and you have risen all the way up to the position of franchise lead at AstraZeneca. So, would love to have some of your key highlights and pivotal moments from your journey if you could share it with our audience today.
Great, thanks. And well, my journey has been more of an experiential learning through the ranks of ladder from being a medical rep, like most of everyone starts it. And then I also pursued my postgraduate diploma in marketing and was fortunate that I got to make a transition which not many people get from sales to marketing. So I come with, you can say a 360-degree experience where I have worked in the field, launched products on the field, handled established portfolios, worked in multinational companies, launched global brands, worked in Indian companies, also worked in a diagnostic center as a startup. And right from, my journey in oncology has been from the basic chemotherapy drugs to the advanced immuno-oncology drugs, which was there for the last when I was with AstraZeneca. So probably I think I had my fingers in all different aspects of a commercialization when it comes to super specialty products.
Right. Yeah, very interesting, right from startup phase to large corporations, the challenges and the difficulties in every role is different. So, anything which, makes you think back and look at how AI driven solutions in your previous experiences have helped in enhancing this strategy for healthcare professionals outreach.
Well, AI has been quite recently, you can say, come in the fad. Although when I was in Mitra Biotech, we were using, artificial intelligence and machine learning models as a predictive for which chemotherapy drug is going to work. And that was in the days of 2018 when people had not talked much about AI. AI came only in 2001. But yes, data analytics, AI were very much there because that company, Mitra Biotech, had its head office in Boston. and we were in India where we had the backend. So all this modeling, predictive analytics was already being done, but that was not as obvious or as what is today. When everyone, even a school child, knows what AI and artificial intelligence is. So my introduction to AI happened quite earlier. But what I would like to mention is that the AI understands only digital language. It's a machine learning. So data is you can say, the alphabets for an AI. So for any personalized engagement when it comes, or healthcare strategies which comes for healthcare professionals, the first and the fundamental thing is digitization of records. Whether it is image to text conversion or voice to text conversion, which is there, or maybe use of any of the smart gadgets, notebooks, pens, it is has to come in the language of zeros and ones. And once you are able to collect the data, it has to be sorted out. It has to be put into and in a different format for analytics. So I think this is the fundamental when it comes for any healthcare strategy to begin with. That data is the core. You can say a DNA for any artificial intelligence or any predictive modeling which you would like to use in your organization.
Very true, right? Because unless and until it's good quality data, it will be just gigo. The first principles is
Yes.
garbage in and then garbage out. So that's what it happens. But while implementing these strategies, would you like to share some insights into how you went about seeing the changes in collecting of this data, and how much is the adoption in the industry as of now? Because pharma is, again, I think there are various players. Some of them are very advanced users of AI, whereas some are still kind of figuring it out. So how do you see, say, the pharma companies which are not still yet the very advanced users, how could they catch up in this game, and what would should be their early steps to start the digitization process, as you mentioned?
Well, it's quite amusing for me when I look at India as a market, because if I follow the Western market, in many aspects, when it comes to data, we are quite ahead. And when I say quite ahead in terms of financial transactions, we are way ahead when it comes to the Western world. But in pharma, I don't know, we lag behind for somewhere or the other. And I assume that this is going to change fast. And the way I follow the industry trends. Recently, I was reading that PwC has tied up with Microsoft, and that will help in outreach the Microsoft data services to small, medium, and big industry. So it's the the wave is catching up. It's a tsunami which is coming up, and sooner or later it has to be there. You can't just avoid that. The way I see how data can help, especially in context to India, where we have such a vast population and dynamic population, is the reach. Now, and it can help in increasing the productivity because a doctor patient ratio is skewed. So the first thing which comes in our mind is that data, this AI, can come as a support to the healthcare physicians, especially when it comes to making clinical summaries. And that's how it's being adopted even in the West. Identifying which are the disease burdens, what could be the best treatment pattern or an algorithm. And then pharma can provide those personalized tools and solutions for these healthcare professionals. And for example, you can have provide a chatbot for interacting with the patients when they are waiting. So you can bring down or you can increase the efficiency. You can give them some kind of forms which they can interact with the AI. On this information can go to the clinicians so that his time per patient is decreased. He doesn't have to repeat the same thing. So and so forth. Even if you look at coming to diagnosis and treatment selections and image reading. For example, if there is a X-ray, but that a GP cannot read that X-ray, or there is a CT scan which a GP cannot read, he has to depend upon a report of a radiologist, which might take a while to come. We all know that we go for a CT scan, the images are immediately given, but the report comes a day later. Now, AI can come as an intermediate there, and probably those things could fast track it. Triaging can happen. Early screening can happen, which AI can help, when you have the entire digital health record is there. Or for that matter, even there are companies which are now trying to collaborate with hospital electronic health record and find out and identify patients for clinical trial matching. So if you look at from the patient point of view or from healthcare point of view, the opportunities and options are immense where the AI can come and increase the efficiency of the healthcare system. And there was a progress, if you ask me. It was not that it has come. IBM Watson was there for a long period of time. Probably it was ahead of times. But now, probably if it was launched, it could have been adopted much easier or faster.
Yeah, I think now, the mindset and the mental frame of
Yes.
the world is to embrace this, rather than challenge it anymore. It's going to
True,
stay.
true, true. Well,
And
so when it came, people actually wanted, they thought it's a threat, and they would like to challenge everything which a machine would, or suggest you. But I think now people have thought that no, this is like a sidekick or a friendly person whom I can depend upon. Even for that matter, if you look at insurance companies, for them the manually screening of every file and then identifying whether this particular claim has to be accepted or rejected. Now, if the entire health record which is digitalized, it can happen in a few minutes, where the entire machine learning, or and then there could be just a human oversight which checks, okay, there should be no errors which an AI could, because that machine does make an error. So you just cannot depend upon AI, but yes, you can fast track the processing of claims, or for that matter, like I said, even if you have your entire health record digitalized, even AI can predict to you whether which could be the best health policy or insurance policy which is most ideal for you. So it becomes more personalized and individualized, you can say, for that particular person. And everybody, layman doesn't understand what the intricacies and the technicalities of health. So if there is a solution which is you can say proven, or which is authentic to a level, which can give some suggestions which might be directional, but at least there are some directions, some guidance. I think a lot of money could be saved there also.
I think, yeah, a lot of good points there, especially coming from a personalization, perspective. I think you mentioned a couple of good points, like for example, the radiology reports, which take time. If these could be personalized, then an early stage detection could be much faster, as well as much cheaper. And maybe advanced cases could only take the kind of time that they take. Right now, everything takes that much time. I think another area and aspect which is possibly not so much given attention to is the overall holistic health of a patient. So if it's an onco patient, we've seen that there's so much of an anxiety waiting for the results, when they are maybe first time diagnosed. And this is something which really affects their well-being, and sometimes even for the people who are taking care of those patients. So if we could, as an AI, develop something which kind of, makes them feel less anxious, telling them what is ahead of them, not in a negative way, but in kind of directional, as you mentioned, maybe it could reduce the anxiety levels and give that kind of, what to expect next in this medical journey, and kind of calm them down. So another possibility which exists maybe with AI.
Very much. In fact, digital companion is a new concept. Digital coaches, they are actually coming up very fast. Everybody's so anxious, they don't want to wait for the next visit to meet a doctor. Now, here is where an AI generated post follow up messaging and connect, and probably with everything getting into an AI avatar, maybe a doctor can make his own avatar, he can voice his clone and still have a virtual connect with the patient, so that patient feels that he's actually communicating with the doctor, although it's virtual connect, or that person or avatar is a close resemblance to a doctor, but still he gets the assurance that what I want answer to my apprehensions is being answered in real time. I don't have to wait for my next visit, which might happen with my next chemotherapy cycle, which might come after 21 days. So, what happens in between that? So, that connect can be streamlined through AI. And there are companies which are also doing for the right diagnosis. For example, lung cancer is a company called Cure AI, which is working with AstraZeneca and finding out whether particular CT scan is of a tuberculosis or it is of a lung cancer. Now, it is not a definite predictive diagnosis, but yes, it does rule out negative probability and positive probability, and the decision could be faster.
Yeah, these false positives, if they could be eliminated early, this causes so much
Yes.
of heartbreak sometimes for the family, and the stigma attached to an onco patient, especially in terms of a lot of financial needs and surrounding aspects. So definitely there's a lot of positive impact that we could drive. Coming back to the question of tailored communication, what do you feel are the primary benefits that we could kind of harness from having a tailored approach between a doctor and a patient engagement?
I think the best way or best thing which you can do is predictive analytics. Now, we all know we are hard pressed when it comes, and there is a subjective error when it comes with our interaction with a particular doctor. Now, AI can take out that personal subjectivities. AI can also predict in terms of what are the needs and preferences of AI of a particular HCP based on the longitudinal mapping in the trend. For example, let me give you a use case, where you have been sending emails or text messages to a doctor. When does he checks those messages? Now, if you know that particular doctor checks this on a Tuesday evening, or he checks this or his messages or email on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning, you can then, rather than sending messages throughout the week, you can send it on that particular time. But for that, you need to have someone following it up. Similarly, in terms of what kind of a content a doctor is, from your click rate, you can make out whether he is interested in a full text article, whether he is only interested in a summary of an article, whether he's only interested in a conference update, or he's interested in what his peers have said it on the Twitter, or he's only interested in a particular algorithm or infographic. So these all insights, which can be done with the help of an AI crawler, and then you can streamline and make your content much more personalized with these kind of tools. And there are CRMs which are using this. For example, I understand Salesforce have some as an inbuilt tool called Einstein, which automates the personalized email campaigns based on how the first previous communications were received by a doctor. And there's an algorithm. If a doctor has not clicked it, the next email or next campaign will not go to him.
Right, very true. So, while implementing these strategies, would you suggest some considerations for the pharma marketeers that they should keep in mind while they are, starting these engagements with their physicians on a personal note?
Well, definitely one is that they should be very much, concerned in ensuring that there is compliance with the data protection regulations such as GDPR or HIPAA to maintain HCP's trust and avoid legal issues. Now, everyone understands about data privacy. Even the government is coming up with new data privacy rules, how my data is being stored, where the data is being used, and as a general public, we also get, you know, not happy when we get too many messages from different vendors. So we are also, who gave this number to you? Why I'm getting these messages? So same is the case with the doctor. So he also would like to, have his privacy in place. So that is the first and foremost thing. Second is disclaimer. If you are using any messages which are now in the social media, make sure it of a doctor, it should come with a disclaimer. And there are some latest guidelines which have come for health influencers if they're using these messages in the public media, because now it is in the scrutiny. And no matter how hard you try, you cannot erase your digital footprints. So it becomes very important that all messages are compliant with the regulatory guidelines. Next is in terms of accuracy and relevance. So make sure that when you are doing using a personalized thing, it should be going. The message should be accurate. You should not just go into a junk for a doctor. So you should have ensure that his emails are updated. If doctor has three or four emails, which is the particular email you would like to send those particular messages. Avoid duplications, and also along with that, use your human intelligence along with artificial intelligence. I would always say that this goes, it has to be a collaboration of AI and human intelligence. You just cannot depend on either. It has to be conjointly done for any of your, you can say, campaigns or healthcare engagements which are there. And then it should have a striking a balance between how much you use information in terms of and how much is you are going into personalization. Just avoid over personalization also. It should ensure that there is a good balance between useful information, and also at the same time you respect your professional boundaries. So these are a couple of
Yeah.
you can say suggestions from my side.
Yeah, true. Because I think, with so much of social media intervention in our lives, sometimes that boundary becomes very blurred. And as you mentioned, there's an overkill of, messages and automation, and sometimes an MR at your door as a physician. And it's like, okay, how
Yeah.
many things can I actually look into? And it becomes overwhelming. And as per a recent survey, it was found that physicians are now, most of the physicians, 90% or above, are triple screen users. So they're on three screens
Yes.
simultaneously, which could be their phone and their laptop and maybe one other possible screen, and with physical intervention. So it's very hard pressing on their time, and I think also on their mental, it adds to their mental fatigue at times to keep answering those calls. So I think very valid points. Keep those, fundament, I think, north star in mind, that don't over communicate, or don't cross the boundary of moderation. Professional moderation is very, very important, and I think keeping it relevant and keeping it timely, so that we don't disturb a person's personal kind of sphere, yet at the same time leverage AI.
And
So
also,
going
like I said,
forward,
if that message format is also aligned to what a doctor likes it, I think the reception will be much higher.
so, for instance, if he is scientific
Yeah.
oriented and you are sending a message
Yes.
about a science forum or an exhibition or a conference where like minded physicians are going to come, definitely he'll be
True.
excited to attend and read your messages. And likewise, if he's a marketing oriented person, or he likes to know what's recently happening in that particular therapy that he is engaged in, yeah, why not? So I think that's very valid point. It has to be customized to what their interest areas are. So, okay, going moving forward, how do you foresee the relationship between pharma companies and healthcare providers evolving from the traditional, relationship that we've seen all over these years, where an MR is kind of engaging and the physician is at the receiving end of information? How do you see this relationship changing with time now?
Well, I think information at one point was important, but now that information is no longer important. The doctor is not waiting for AMR to come, which was the time 15 or 20 years back where a doctor used to wait. So the industry or the marketer should understand that it is more of to go with the collaborative approach and understand how a particular practice is there, in which work he is, how does his patients, what is the flow of his patients, and then map those journey of those particular practice and flow and identify where are the leakages points and try to provide solutions for that particular doctor or a particular practice type to plug those leakages. Now those leakages could be at screening, that could be at the right diagnosis, that could be at the right treatment selection, right treatment adherence, or it could be a side effect management or post follow-ups or general awareness. So I think the industry or the marketer has to understand where are those leakages which could be plugged as a collaborative effort between the pharma company and the healthcare providers. For instance, let me give you example for clinical trial matching. Now, can AI, and people have identified that yes, if you analyze the electronic health records, you can fastly identify sites where there will be an ideal opportunity for these particular patients. So you don't have to go hunting site by site, or you get into a clinical trial is opened up at site and you don't have a patient for that particular thing. So that these things could be solved, or for that matter, even the training of the reps could be done in a way, in a manner which helps them or enables them to tailor their script based on the scenario. So scenario based communication is important, I think, and which even the healthcare professionals, they appreciate, because if you are not communicating in which is aligned to what they would like to, or what pain points they have, then your entire effort of reaching out becomes futile. So I see that the collaboration is the first thing. Identify where are the gaps, and come up with strategic levers or in tactics to bridge those gaps. Next is definitely the health pharma companies should, you know, leverage digital engagements. Now, we all know when the COVID was there, there was a sudden spurt of virtual conferences and webinars, and now, well, normal everything is normal. We are back to, face-to-face conversation, or to an extent, a slightly mixed or a hybrid conversation, which is there. But I feel that sooner or later, like we will again see a traction in the digital engagement, because everybody is so hard pressed of time. They may not value, or they will only meet you if they see a value in. Apart from that, I think closed group interactions could come as a very good digital or a virtual ad boards. I feel that is would be another area where health or marketers could look into it. And there are companies like, especially I don't see now many international speakers flying to India for international speaker tour. Now everybody prefers to, and because the technology is so good, and our current interaction is a testimony to that we can virtually connect. So you can have those oncology global medical advisory systems in place, where you can engage your top KOLs with the top KOLs of the world virtually. And this can happen, at a frequent level now, because of the digital engagement which is there. There are a lot of other platforms where you can also engage younger doctors. Maybe it could be in a form of a quiz or a contest, through again a digital content. And lastly, I would say, is when you are doing it, collaboration should lead to a value. If you are collaborating and there is no value which is coming out of that collaboration, then I don't see that as a kind of any interaction. So when I say value, every pharma is not trying to reach beyond a pill. So you need to add along, package your medicines or your brand along with some tangible or intangible offerings to the doctor or to the patients. For instance, a diabetes company can, now have a continuous glucose monitoring, or a wearable, or some kind of a value-added services coming in terms of a remote monitoring, so as the entire proposition of that particular brand increases. So company should not just think about a particular cost of medicine, but I think the entire cost of treatment. If they could make an impact there, I think that is something. These are the three things which I would like to emphasize, or I would like to purport, is this in terms of how a healthcare organizations or pharma companies should engage with healthcare organizations.
Wonderful. I think wonderfully pointed out. So for our audience, I think maybe you should rehear this entire conversation from a value-based relationship perspective, which is now going to be the pivotal way in which pharma company and a physician will possibly engage. And when we say value, it is a relationship. It's a long-term value that they should foresee in engaging with your brand, and not just it goes beyond just a transactional information exchange,
True.
which used to be the norms of the past. So a lot of exploration which is possible at a relationship level, where we help them in getting their patients to succeed through their treatment, and at the same time the pharma to succeed in making sure that their treatment, therapy, or drug is delivered. So I think it's a kind of win-win-win approach that a physician, patient, and a company needs to kind of bring together as three parties in this game.
And if you see, even the government of India is proposing the same thing in their ABHA, mission, where they are emphasizing that hospitals which provide a better value-based outcome will get incentivized with less taxes. That's what I have read in the policies, that if you are able to treat a particular patient with less diagnostic test, I think those outcome-based measures will be then rewarded and recognized with more, tax concessions or ratings. So I think it's a general approach which is now being, coming forth in terms of value.
So, what role do data analytics and insights can play in optimizing these strategies? Could you share any examples for our audience?
Like I said, data is the core, and if you are able to get data, right data, you can generate a lot of value out of it. And pharma, we are privileged, you can say, that we have a direct connect with our customers. I don't see any other industry where you have a direct connect with the customer. But the unfortunate part is that this kind of a connect is never longitudinally mapped, and there is no qualitative analysis of the touch points. Now, let me give a context. Everyone is there on Amazon, and we know how predictive they are when we select a particular item on an Amazon, and they are able to give us what we would be looking as the next item of search just through our digital connect. But as a pharma companies which are meeting these doctors physically, there is not much of any longitudinal mapping of those touch points and the qualitative analysis. It is always being analyzed in terms of the output, which is sales. If sales is happening, probably everything else is moving in the right place. But I think this is the most critical thing which should be adopted now, because now you have tools. Initially, if you asked me, a regional manager has to go through the reports of all his subordinates, identify which person is meeting at what frequency and what is his interaction is there. It's humanly impossible because he has so many other things to do. But now there is a tool which could read and tell them that okay, this particular rep is meeting these doctors, the out, and this is the interaction which is happening. And if that interaction is going in a direction which is positive, then the sale should also move in the positive. When I say that direction is going, if a doctor has moved from from a non advocate to an advocate, and this is evident from the post call report which the rep is writing, then also the sale should move in that direction. Now, if there is a disconnect between two, then it is a red flag, and this could then help that particular regional manager or sales manager to intervene and check. Otherwise, it is we are all looking at the end result and sales, and we don't know. It's only when we realize that a particular salesperson has left, what was the interaction, whether he was meeting or not. So this becomes most important, I think, an aspect when it comes to interaction and the of tapping the interactions and giving those qualitative insights out of it. Also, I would like to say is that where his insights come is a sociographic analysis. Now, based on this data which you collect, you can also bucket the customers into different, you can say, segments, and then tailor your strategies according to it. Now, for example, whether this particular doctor is an early adopter of a new treatment, or does he values multinationals over generics? What are his social media opinions? Who are his peer groups? Who are his what is his critics and areas of interest? Now, probably a rep might who has been interacting with the doctor for a year or two might know it little subjective, but that is all within his own mind. It is not there in any kind of, you can say, a platform. Now, until unless this information comes to a platform, it is digitally captured, then only it could be analyzed. So I think identifying trends and patterns is the first most critical area where you can do it. And then, like I said, how that interaction is going through it. You can use your algorithmic messaging for content, frequency, and channel, which could be a, we can say, become a surrogate marker for your HCP engagement. So if a doctor is very friendly to a rep and he is not connected digitally, then I think there is some issue, because, and I think that's a red flag, I would say, because tomorrow if that rep leaves, those relationships are no longer there. So your digital as well as physical connect has to be mapped, and it should be, you can say, complementary to each other. And lastly, like I said, you should be able to use that data for your predictive analytics in terms of what is this doctor looking for. So, example, if you know that this particular doctor is an opinion leader, or he loves to voice his opinion, or he's very updated, so do you think this doctor could be a right selection for an advisory board? So if a company is launching a new drug, who is the doctor whom they should pick it up? So these all patterns of behavior would then, which get are captured and analyzed through, can be useful in making those decisions faster. Otherwise, it's all interdependent. The medical person will talk to the rep, and the rep will give his suggestions. And so you have a third mirror, or you can say, a third eye now. And the companies should use AI or digital, I would say like a third eye.
Yeah, wonderfully said. So, for all of the brand managers and sales managers who are listening to us, have a combination of physical and digital interactions so that you have the third eye of AI supporting you. Thank you so much, Mr. Amaninder Singh, for sharing your invaluable insights and experience with us today. Your expertise in pharma marketing and your impressive journey has provided us with a much deeper understanding of how data driven strategies can really drive significant business growth and innovation. To our listeners, we hope you found this episode of Pharma Marketing Playbook as enlightening as we did. The rapidly evolving world of pharma and procurement demands continuous learning and insights from experts like Mr. Amninder Singh will help us in navigating this landscape. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, leave a review. Until next time, this is Saumya Prakash signing off. Stay innovative, stay informed, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in pharma marketing. Thank you once again, Mr. Ram, for joining us today and tuning in. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Soumya. It was such a pleasure interacting with you, and I look forward to many more such interactions in future.
Thank you for joining us in this episode. We hope that the deep insights and knowledge shared today will help your business and brand grow by leaps and bounds. Remember to follow the podcast, and if you wish to know more about Multiplier AI solutions, please visit the links given in show notes.